You can do it now. You've been in one episode already, but you're back to being the host.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Dave and I'm joined by the actual host of this podcast, Millie.
Hello.
We're going to continue on with our my coverage of 97 Poets of Revachol. So after having a lovely night's sleep,
Okay.
I'm training for a boxing match at the moment. Yes, I'm training for a boxing match. By the time you listen to this, I'll probably either have already been...
Oh, it's definitely been and gone.
Yeah. So...
It's so exciting, though.
If I die, then I die doing something I love, which is being punched in the face by someone.
Okay, right now, come on.
Anyway, I woke up in the morning and I did like a workout, which is something I've never done at a lot before, but it was really, really good. And then I had a shower and it was amazing. And I had breakfast. It was really, really good.
It's so refreshing, isn't it?
Oh man, it puts me in a good mood for the rest of the day.
Especially after all the emotions that you went through the day before.
Yeah, that needed to be cleansed for sure. But no, I slept really, really well. It was nice to check in with Tony in the morning. I won't say the player's name, but the character's name. But yeah,
Tony is the person that raised your daughter after your wife got killed in a sweatshop. Yeah,
who also gave me a beer and led me down the dark path.
Oh God, from yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh,
so my feelings towards Tony were definitely conflicted by this stage, because that's kind of malicious, you know, like potentially. But it's also like, why would he do that? Like, interesting stuff. Anyway, so the next day we have breakfast. I am already hobbling around, and this was the time in one, so I was fine. Yeah, so I'm hobbling around from time in. Yeah, and I go to the hospital. And someone's robbed the hospital. What? So they don't have any painkillers for me.
Oh God.
So, at this stage, by the way, the my armpit where the
did you have one of the underarm crutches?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're painful.
Really bruised.
Yeah.
So every step I was actually taking really did actually physically hurt.
Yeah.
So
I always find it amazing, because I was on those kind of crutches for 9 weeks when I had my ankle reconstructed. They accessibility tools are not actually built to help people.
No, they're not very comfortable, and these were old school as well. They were like wooden and they're kind of, you know, very much. They made me think of the 80s. Yeah. You know, that kind of level of care. And when people talk about how good things used to be, tell them to shut their mouths. Like, things are getting better, hopefully.
Back in my day.
Yeah, exactly. No. So
you're hobbling around with your crutches. Or your crutch.
And I'm in a bunch of pain. And then, but in the morning, Francis is feeling like trying to get better, you know, like he's full of regret. But then he bumps into Rain, who's my granddaughter, who's kind of estranged at this point. But I've made friends with. Well, I've said, like, you know, I don't get the music you like, but I'm old, so as long as you guys are having fun and you seem like you're like, it seems like you know, your friends are really nice. And I'm saying hello to her friends like Blue and people like that.
Were their friends the ones that were playing the game?
Some of them were, nice. And then me and Rain are talking. And then I'm not really sure how this happened, but Rain ended up following me, because I was like, I have to go up to the flat to get something. Oh, because I had to start work, so I had to go and get my brush. Yeah. So I head upstairs, which obviously takes me forever, and she patiently walks with me. And then we get to the flat, and I go into the flat, and she's standing on the edge of the door, and I'm like, Rain, it's okay. This is your home too. Like, you're welcome here. Like, you can come in if you want, or you don't have to, but I would really appreciate it if you just came and sat down with me and talked to me. So Rain comes in and sits down, and we just like start having a chat. And then Ember and Rudy come back.
Yeah, and Ember is their father, okay.
And Rudy is so happy to see the family back together again. Yeah. And she gets like the glasses out and sits everyone down.
Oh, the glasses that she was going to have when they had the drink.
Yeah, so we all had like a drink together, which is like a non-alcoholic drink, but we were like, you know, and I was basically saying like, you know, we're a family, and whatever happens, like we may fall out and may have disagreements, but we're always going to be there for each other and all this stuff. Ember's very like, he's mixing between like he's Ember's whole story is its own thing, and I don't think I can really do justice in trying to portray like his emotional state throughout this weekend, because his performance was absolutely excellent. Like kind of narky, kind of resentful, kind of like just a hurt little guy taking it out in the world and still thinking that he can do stuff, but not really realizing that he's basically following in France's footsteps. But we end up like, because I'm like, he like jabs at Rain, and I'm like, no, we're gonna sit here and we're just gonna be pleasant. We're just going to be pleasant. That's all we're going to do. And we had this little sit down, and then eventually I was like, I have to go back. I have to go to work. But it was a really lovely moment. And also, like, I had made I talked to Ember about Marie, and I was like, you know, I was looking out the window at the beginning, and I was like saying like, we could be a family again, you know. And he was basically laughing at me, saying, he said it was so good how brutal he was. He was like, oh yeah, she's just going to come up here, and then Rain will come back, and we'll all sit around, and we'll have a lovely meal, and we'll be so happy. And I was like, oh yeah, I think we really
like
do
the
that.
Harsh realist
and then
versus
he was like, he just laughed at me and was like, you're so fucking stupid. You know, like, and it was just like, delusional. And it was like, no, it could happen. Then he was like, how much do you want to bet? Like, she's never going to come here. And I was just like, I reckon Marie will come back. That's what, like, one of the reasons why she's here is to come back, you know? And so I bet him 50 Rial. Rial is the
nice.
money. Yeah, came back. That she would come down and come into the flat. And he was like, oh, what, by tomorrow, which was a Friday? And I said, no, give me a chance. Saturday, by then she'll have come back. So, I'll mention this now because I'll forget otherwise. But I didn't end up winning that bet. However, Ember thought that had spoken to her at some point, and they were going to come back. And Ember was actually trying to help Francis win that bet. And it's like, family. Families suck, but they're so nice at the same time. But
it's also worth saying, dear listeners, that I am a filthy empath. So like my little brain is making all of the little connections when Dave's telling me all these things. It's horrible, but it's so endearing and wonderful.
I mean, I'll keep going. Keep going.
So you were going to work.
Yeah. So I go to work and I continue to. Basically do my job, but this time I'm in a bunch of pain, so I'm walking even slower than usual. Every single time I have to... And
this was a conscious choice by you, right? Like, nobody told
absolutely.
You had to act like this.
But I was like, this is totally fine. I'm hungover. I don't have my pain medication. I'm full of regret for what happened the night before.
And every step must have been getting harder and harder physically
really
for you because of the bruise.
So every time I saw a bottle, I was also someone had come up to me, one of the council people came up and was like, hey Francis, and I was like, I'm so sorry about last night. And
because they had the meeting, right? And
and they were like, you have to leave and all this stuff. And bear in mind, they're the ones that pay me to clean up apartments. So I was really worried that I was going to lose my job. So I was trying to be as quiet as possible and just get on with things. And he came up to me and I was like, it's about your job. And I was like, I'm really, really sorry about like what happened like last night. He's like, oh, don't worry about that, Francis. So we talked, and we're gonna expand your cleaning area, and maybe get a bit more extra cash. And maybe you could get, if you want to, maybe get Ember can also come along, and we'll pay them as well.
And Ember really wanted your job, right?
Ember doesn't want a job. I want Ember to get a job.
Okay.
I should also bring up this stuff, which is like these pills called Healthy Life.
Okay.
Healthy Life is healthy and good for you.
Okay.
No, it's addictive and a pyramid scheme. So you sell these pills to other people who become addicted, and then they give you money, and then they try and sell it to other people, and it's basically a pyramid scheme, and it's really, really dark. Francis in the morning on Saturday or on Friday was talking about how he had these pills and was going to sell them and make loads of money, and I was just like, oh, this sounds a bit dodgy.
You mean Ember, not Francis?
Ember, sorry,
Francis,
Ember. And I was a bit wary about that, but that was like the start of his relationship with this stuff, and it was kind of dark. But
God, that is really fucking dark. 'Cause then that's like Sins of the Father, right?
All of it is like. All of it is
God.
Yeah, exactly. The relationship with his daughter, the fact he lost his wife, and how he's now becoming more interested in
like money and stuff.
Money, and also getting drunk. Like Ember was like, why don't we go to the bar and have a drink? You know, stuff like this, father and son and all this stuff. And it's like, on the surface, our father and son having a drink is something good and healthy, but the reality of what that actually is
actually really fucking
tragic.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like, oh my god,
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, really heartbreaking. I'm walking along and Donnie passes me.
Yeah.
And he won the card game last night, and he's like flash with cash, and he's just like, hey, why don't you have some money? And I'm just like, no, I don't want your money, Donnie. You know, I don't want your money. And then I had like, actually, I'm getting the order mixed up here. I'll put it all into one, but I had the what they called, the social worker lady, person, I should say. They were always kind of giving me shit for giving up, because I was really close to giving up, and they were like, you need to not give up. You need to look after your family and work hard, and everything will be fine. And when Donnie tried to give me money, they were like, don't take the money. Don't take the money. And I was just like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm really meek about it. And she says, you really don't want to take the money? I'm like, I don't want your money! Yeah. And it was just like, you know, Francis being loud is like really, you know, friendly. He's like, all right, Francis. But anyway, I had a lovely scene with Donnie as well, where he's walking past me and he's talking about how flush he is with cash, and he's like, he's got a beer in his hand, and I said to him, like, is that a beer in your hand? And he goes, yeah, I'm young and strong, you know, like, what do I care? And I'm just like, take it from someone that's old and weak, like this is how it starts, right? And it was like a really lovely moment of where, and Donnie kind of like shakes it off, but you can see him like taking that on, and it's like, oh, it's so beautiful. So many little beautiful vignettes, you know. But the social worker started every time I wanted to quit, would start bringing out a picture of Marie and a lighter and burn the edges of the picture, and said, like, I was like, please don't do that, and he's like, you're doing this, you're the one who's giving up. And I was just like, no, it's really, really hard. We then had another AA session. Man, I've got this thing where sometimes when I'm role playing, the characters speak through me. I know that sounds really cliche, I don't really know how to explain it, but a lot of the stuff that was said in those AA meetings came from such a like deep place that they were just like, I was like talking about how tired I was of everything, and how basically like everyone, how I made a fool of myself the night before by drinking, and I let everyone down, and I had let my daughter down, and how I really want to see my wife and all that stuff, and we had and everyone else. But then we had like really cool things where we would then hug after we had the thing. So fucking wholesome, dude. Like having a good hug was lovely. Also made me appreciate what AA does. Like, I know AA has its problems, but like that as a process. We then had lunch, but we also had a charity drive. Because Francis is in so much pain, he tried to kind of help out, but they were like, no, stay seated, you know, it's okay, Francis, you don't need to help out. And I gave them like a 50 or something, or 100, whatever it was, like a lot of money for him. Then we had Later on, there was more gambling, but at the time, I can't remember. I even went there. What was I doing? I was doing something at the time. At the second block meeting, which I came into, and I apologised. I said, I should bring in this character called Jacqueline. Okay, Jacqueline's like the really nice councilwoman who has lived there a long time. She's also another old character. Has seen Francis over the years or whatever, and is kind of protective. She was one of the people that helped get the money for the accident that happened.
Yeah.
So she's tries to look after people. So I went in there and I was just can I say something? Yeah, sure. I am really sorry about what I said last night, and my behaviour was really, really bad. I just wanted to apologise to the council, and they were really nice about it, but it was really sad.
Yeah.
We had a communal apartment B dinner.
Nice.
Then there was the gambling thing, which was a sled game. I went down there and I was I don't know. I was hanging out and I was just I just don't know whether. I don't know whether Francis is in a gambling mood at this stage.
Yeah, because
right?
you were heavily addictive personality, but also a gambling problem kind of character, weren't you?
Addicted to everything.
Yeah.
But I think just the sheer emotional catharsis of the night before, also having spoken to Marie and all this stuff, was I just didn't feel, and I was really into the character. I was I don't really feel like he wants to play the sled game gambling right now, because it's not fun. He's just wants to go away. But it's around this time that there's this thing called the black boxes, and there's 3 of them floated around the thing, and these are where you can go as a group or with certain people and do trippy, metaphorical, weird things. Okay. So a lot of this, the unseen are involved in, and all this sort of stuff like this. So Ari and his brother are hey, do you want to go and do a black box thing with the drunkard as well? And I was just oh
my God.
I was hell yeah. And he says it's going to be pretty hardcore emotionally and stuff like this. And I'm let's go.
Yeah, let's
go, So basically...
are they kind of encounter tents?
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
But a lot of them are kind of player-led, because everyone involved was a player. And what we did was we recreated the fall.
Really?
When I fell in front of them before.
Yeah.
So my entire the whole entire brief for me was go in and fall down.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And who decided that it was going to be the fall that you were recreating?
They did, the guys that were involved.
Cool.
So I walk in, I hobble past and hit the deck, and Ari's oh, let me help you. And the guy's his brother's how do you know him? Don't touch him. And there's a whole thing about how he's scum. Don't touch him. And then Ari's well, I don't know him. I'm just being nice.
Yeah.
And saying that he doesn't know me, which he didn't do before, but it's even harsher. And he's yeah, he is just a loser or whatever.
God.
And it's I'm on the floor shaking. And then the brother leaves, and then Ari's helping me up, and he's oh, I'm so sorry, Francis. I had to say that in front of my brother. And I was yeah, but you said you didn't know me.
Oh,
and then
my God, that's one of your big fears.
And then I walk away, but it's only a small room, so I literally walk to the corner and I just stare into the corner, and he's pleading with me, and I'm just silent.
Oh God.
And it was oh my God, it's so heavy.
It's one of those really weird things as well, because it's a room full of players in an encounter tent. The only encounter tents that I've ever been part of are a one player with a group of crew, right? But the fact that you have so many interesting dynamics there, because if you were Ari, you'd have your brother, you'd have Francis, who's your sober companion, and then if you were the brother, you'd have that whole classist system.
And but bear in mind, Ari's family are all about fucking people over for money.
Because they own the pawn shop,
yeah,
right?
And they're all about making that money.
Oh my God, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, so the kind of one of the things, when the anchors that's actually holding Ari's humanity and not becoming like his family, is Francis.
Yeah.
So this moment being recreated and then messed with was like super heavy.
Yeah.
Like just like very emotional and like heartbreaking and like, but why did you say you didn't know me?
Yeah.
You know? Like,
oh, little Francis and Ari. Oh,
yeah,
God.
like heavy stuff.
That's amazing, though.
Yes. Then, hold on, what does this say? Hold on. Oh, I put that's why we've done that. Also, at one stage, Ari and his brother are walking around, and like at one stage, like let me just tell some stories about our interactions with each other because I'll get the timeline wrong. I was put them all together.
Yeah.
I'm hobbling across the courtyard, and I hear someone yell from the window, "Go on, Francis! Get across that courtyard!" And it's the brother who's basically mocking me. And I'm walking like half a step each time. And I kind of look up and I look down and I'm like, he's just going, "Go on, Francis!" And he's being like really laddie about it. And it's just like, oh, poor little Francis. Also, Ari ended up coming up to me and being like, "Hey, I really need money." And I was like, "What do you need the money for?" He's like, "I got this letter from my kids who are in a different region, need money, and I really, really need to send them some money." And I was just like, I literally just gave him virtually everything I had, which is like really, because basically if you say it's my kids, Francis is going to fucking do anything for that because he knows how important that is.
Gee willikers, I hope nobody abused that.
Well, okay, I'll also talk about so Tony not only was looking after Marie, but and interestingly, Marie hadn't spoken to Tony. They've been like avoiding Tony, and I was like, that's really odd because like, why wouldn't they? Because I always thought like Tony's the golden boy, right? Like he's he's super dad, and I'm this fucking loser, right? But then Marie doesn't even interact with him, and I was really confused about that. But Tony also has a son called Joe.
Okay.
When he first came back to Revachol, or came to Revachol, he came back because he grew up here, but then went away. But anyway, his son Joe, who's played by James from Fancy Nuts. Yeah, and Joe wants to be a DJ. Yeah. Okay? Oh. And Tony doesn't get it. Yeah. He wants him to get a proper job, right? Like, and to be a grown-up. Yeah. But Joe loves music. He loves disco. Not the new stuff. He likes disco. He likes disco. And basically, people were saying, like, Joe killed it in the DJing in the night before. And I'm probably getting timeline mixed up here, but I ended up sitting down with Joe and we had this really, really sweet conversation where he was talking about how he doesn't get on with his dad, he's mad about it, and his dad doesn't understand him and all this stuff. And I ended up saying like the heaviest line. I was just like, I looked at him and I was like, Joe, if you were my son, I would be so proud of you.
Oh God. Oh, Francis! This is it's such interesting like RP social dynamic stuff.
Do you remember when I was talking about at the start with how the characters make this lattice?
Yeah,
it literally
it's so interesting. Yeah, and I love it because like you've got in your booklet you've got your like 3-4 pages of character motivation and like backstory and all this stuff. It's so interesting that you have other characters who have similar or matching story things. So like with Joe and things.
On this page I also have a list of characters and my relationship with them.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, and all this stuff played out, like none of this felt forced. Yeah. So like, okay, Rudy is a good kid. They try and help. They lose but they lose things. They lose their time in idle fantasies and stupid games. But like this was very real. You know, like it becomes like I'm super proud of Rudy and who she is and all that stuff. It's
so interesting because like with Joe, and what was James's character called again? The son.
Sorry, which one? Sorry.
So Joe is the son.
A son of Tony, yeah.
Tony, sorry, thank you. Yeah. So having that and then seeing like the whole father-son dynamic, but from the perspective of the son, when Francis would have only have seen the perspective from the father into the children. Oh my god, it's fascinating. It's really
heavy. You can see why I want to do a PSA at the start of this, because it really is heavy. I think I spoke to Marie in the morning, and we talked about, and being sober, I was just like, you should definitely leave, like, you know,
like I'm no good for you.
I'm literally this will only destroy you, and I'm so proud of you, but you need to leave, you know, like, and get away from me, you know. And it was just heartbreaking for him because he wants Marie in his life. And
it's all Rudy wants as well. So like by heartbreaking and getting rid of Marie, you're saving Marie, but then like destroying. But
and I was like, but I also said to them, like, you should talk to your nieces. They could really do with someone like you talking to them and helping them, because Ember's not doing well, and I think like you could relate. Anyway, this comes to one of the set pieces of the time that we were there, which is the high afternoon in the square is what it's called. This is basically where our local gang, the workers' union, and the mercenaries come out and basically point guns at each other. So we're all gathered up, and they come off and have this face up. I don't fully understand all the rules and how it worked, because they had to point their guns, and if you pointed your guns, it was like making a decision, like whether you point your guns or don't point your guns. So it's like this game of like, they do it in 3 rounds. Like, okay, you point your guns, and some people didn't, and then they go, and now you get to choose again, and then other people would lower their guns and raise their guns, and then one more time. And while this is happening, Francis sees Marie over by the side, and I hobble over, so I'm standing in front of her, because Francis knows what's about to happen. Like, he's seen this before, right? Like, and if anyone's going to take a bullet, it's going to be him rather than Marie. When and then finally the shootout happens, so they get a blank fire and they just start bam, 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 bam. I kind of shrivel, and then Marie puts her hand around me, and it was such a it was such a beautiful freezing moment in time, where Francis had come to try and be a parent and protector, but she's the one instinctively wanted to protect Francis,
because she's part of the militia unit as well.
Well, right? She wasn't involved in the shootout; it was just the local gang.
But she is part of the militia.
But it was like this. Really, it was like, oh, it's so sweet. Anyway, all the mercenaries die or run away. Donnie dies, which was like, no, Donnie. And a couple of the other people are either injured or die. I can't remember all of them. But like, Francis goes over to one of the dying mercenaries on the ground, and I sit down. I put my hand on his chest, and I'm like, "It's okay. Like, you can rest now." And he dies.
Oh, Francis.
Yeah, and like, that was really cute. Like this thing.
Can I ask a question about death in this game?
You can, absolutely.
Because you have set characters. There's characters you choose. What happens if your character dies? Like, what do you do as a player?
So the both the gangs, effectively, the mercenaries and the workers' union, had second characters.
Oh, okay.
So they come back the next day, which I'll get to actually on the Saturday. Yeah. But that was like time out. Yeah. Okay. And then we had a few hours, like 2 hours, to kind of prepare for this like crazy intermission, which was a party, but our characters and everything is like the best. So your enemies, you are now friendly with. It's like the best, like a happy version of the world that we live in. Yeah. And it was such a wonderful fucking palate cleanser because of how much emotion had gone before.
So you mean it's like, so it's not an in time thing, it's like a little,
it's like a trippy like dream thing where things are happening, but like, and everyone's wasted. But when it comes through to the morning, it'll be like, God, did that happen?
Yeah, so
but it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be real or whatever. It's like
it could either be going on in your character's brain or just a palette cleanser.
Absolutely
interesting.
So we went up and there were like loads of, we got to change our outfits.
Yeah.
So I found like a headband which I put over my head. I had like some sequins put on my like little rhinestones on my face.
It was a vibe.
Yeah, it was a vibe. I also found this big old pimp jacket, which was like a big fur jacket.
Yeah.
And I put that on. I was like, yeah, this is like Francis big pimping. Like, if his wife never died, he's really happy. He's like in control of himself. He's the life and soul. Anyway, I put my hand in my pocket. And there's a giant wedge of cash. Like hundreds of things. And I was like, do you know what? This is perfect. And I already made the decision. Whatever's left in that pocket, I'm going to hand in the next day. But that night, Francis is loaded. Okay? Yeah. So Francis went around and was just like one character came over and I was like, oh, you look really pretty tonight. Go and buy yourself something nice. And I stuffed a 50 in their top. I bought everyone shots at the bar. Yeah. I gave Jacqueline a big kiss.
Oh my God.
Just uber big happy Francis.
Yeah.
Really social. I was hanging out with Tony and Marie, and it was like, and Ember, and it was like a happy family.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like the two dads and their daughter that they're both proud of. And there's no like stepdad and biological dad hanging out together, and it was really nice. There was like a fight, which like a combat sports thing, which was basically like LARP fighting, which Rain was in, and they were taking bets, and I was making giant bets on Rain every time. I was just like, "That's my granddaughter, she's amazing," blah 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 blah, and like all this stuff, man. It was really really fun.
God, that must have been so nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
And we had the best time that evening. Went down to the club. Everyone's partying. I'm dancing. I've drunk a lot of sugary drinks, and we're also like rubbing our gums with fake cocaine, which is basically powdered sugar. I'm buzzing my little titties off. They had karaoke. They had a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, we had the dance off. So we go down there, and there's a dance off between the Bearded Dragon Club and the second club, and there was a dance off. So
which club were you part of?
Well, the old man's club, obviously. The Bearded Dragon Club. Okay. I'm into my disco. So first up is Marie and someone else, and Marie does an amazing she's like, I'm filing the paperwork, and she's like filing the paperwork as a dance move, and she goes through this whole thing of that, and it was just like she won her dance off, and I was just like, God damn right, like that's my daughter. Yeah, like it's in the genes or whatever, you know. And then the next one was Joe stepped forward, and I stepped forward. So I do this. So Joe does,
God, I would have paid so much money to see this.
I don't know what came over me. I think it might be not being able to move for that long. Yeah. But oh my God, I was incredible. Yeah. Like, I did the whole thing where at first, like, it was my turn to dance, so I went out with my thing, and then I kicked it away and like started dancing.
Oh my God!
And then I started doing the kind of like legs up in the air, and then I was like looking at the back of the, I just started as I was yelling at my dance move, and then Joe looks at me and just goes, I got nothing. Yeah. Like, I can't even compete with that.
We Patreons band together. We need to get enough money to get Dave and James from Fancy Nuss podcast to have a dance off.
The dance off was so fucking cool, and it was like everyone was cheering and loved it, and it was really, really good. And then they had the club owners from the Bearded Vulture Club, and what's his name? Conrad. Conrad is the guy who was in the other club. They had an amazing dance off, and instead of it being like a battle, they learned to respect each other, and it was like the super mega happy ending where they both realized that they had different styles, but they both loved the music, and it was so good.
What a wholesome way of breaking the like emotional turmoil of the weekend.
Very much required, and I needed it, and it was such a it was exhilarating to go from Grey Man Francis to Life and Soul of the Party Francis. It felt amazing. Lots of wacky shit happened. Like there was a fashion show and a bunch of other stuff that happened.
How long was this intermission, like time wise, roughly?
I think it was from 8 until midnight.
Oh, so it was like it was the end of the day until time out, effectively.
Yeah, effectively,
nice.
And I had like another black box thing, which I actually don't think I can talk about because this was like a planned thing, and what happened in there I think might happen again, and therefore I don't want to give any spoilers. But it was the special synod meeting, which is like the collection of the people that are in charge of the church. For some reason, Francis is a member of the church and therefore has a say in this. What? Yeah. I know. I was surprised everyone to fucking be there, but it involved the priest and a bunch of other people, and it was really interesting. I can't talk about it though. We're gonna keep blasting through, I think. So Saturday morning comes rolling around.
Saturday morning is final day, right?
Yeah. I'm there at like 8 o'clock, hobbling around on my thing, and like people are like, dude, you know it's not time in yet. And I was like, oh, isn't it? I was so into being Francis that it was like,
it must have been like after the event at the intermission, like you must be so gassed to like get back in and do it all again, right?
Well, it was nice to be like, again, hungover Francis.
Yeah.
And like, actually, I kind of want to talk about my relationship with some of the what did I do with it? Did I click off this? Oh, here we go. I want to talk about some of my relationships with the unseen because they were so phenomenal. On the Saturday, we had... I'm going to mess up the order a whole bunch here because I think stuff is kind of...
Is wibbly wobbly.
This is wibbly wobbly.
Squishy, squishy.
Ember is now... basically completely falling apart.
Yeah.
Like he's like, Francis, I need money. I look in my pocket, I have like 100 real left. He takes all of it.
Oh. Ember.
Yeah, he's
part of the pyramid scheme.
He's run out of pills.
Yeah.
And just needs more pills.
Yeah.
And it's really, really bad. He's basically falling apart.
Yeah.
He's not fixing his relationship with Rain. Rudy's basically just off doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And I think it was on Saturday. I can't remember which day it was, but so basically I had all these different unseen. Like I had the street martyr who was like so tender with Francis, and like caring and being like, kind of encouraging but not like wanting anything from Francis, just being like, it's okay. And we had this really heavy AA session where the drifter's there, the martyr's there, and basically I go on a bit of a kind of monologue, which I'm known to do, and but afterwards the drifter says, can I have a word? And the drifter had like such an energy about them that like I can't really describe it, but like, have you read or seen the TV series of Sandman?
I worked on it.
You worked on it?
But no.
Okay. Well, the character of Death in that, which is one of the Sandman's siblings, is like, and it makes me think also of the movie Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Which there's a line in that where devils are, or is it demons are just demons trying to let you let go of the things you had in your life, and they're actually just angels trying to help you.
Yeah.
And like, instead of it being like a sad thing, it's almost like the last kind of like, death isn't there to hurt you or take anything away. It's to help you through that process. And like,
I really like the modern representation of death and the fact that it's not like some sort of like scary, visceral thing to be terrified of. It's like a warm, comforting friend who's going to look after you.
Yeah, but kind of neutral. Like, I don't know how to describe this, but like not good or bad. They're like neutral.
It's just something that you have to accept exists.
Yeah,
right?
but the Drifter stopped me at one point. I went into a room, and the Drifter was like, I've heard you talk, Francis, and I wanted to give you an opportunity, an option. And they started talking about how I could go to a place where all of this would disappear, and that I could potentially be with my wife again.
Okay. Oh.
And they were like, do you know what I'm talking about? And I went, am I deaf? And they were like, no, the Pale.
Oh.
Right? And this is something that the player actually, this wasn't part of the scripted whatever.
Yeah.
This was something that the player kind of put forward. And Francis was like, hell yeah. Like, not, I wasn't like, hell yeah, but I was like, the option to do that was like really appealing to Francis. What I didn't know was that basically I had like 4 unseen battling for Francis's soul. They were, because they're all playing the game, and they're talking about like, so the Drifter went back and went, oh, I'm probably going to try and get Francis to go to the Pale. And like a bunch of the other ones was like, hey, he's mine. You know what I mean? Like, I've been working on him.
Because
like,
you'd had a lot of thingy with the drunkard, right?
The drunkard, the social worker, the street martyr, like these were the kind of, also corrosion was also a part of that as well. But they were all kind of mixing around Francis and being different little voices to him as we went. So, and all of them, they can compel you to do things. Like when they say you really, really want to do this, you have to do it.
Oh my god, it's
so
like Would You Kindly out of Bioshock.
Yeah,
oh my
absolutely. And so all these different kind of like moral and ethereal figures are basically battling over Francis and what they want to do with him. Like the drunkard loves hearing Francis's stories, so he wants Francis to keep on having a good time and all that stuff. And like it was anyway. All of those people were absolutely incredible, and like I can't even bounce them out. Like they all have their place in the story of Francis. I don't want to go too much into stuff, but it was fucking baller.
I'm loving the social dynamics of this LARP.
It's amazing.
It's insane.
It's amazing. So then we had that's actually in the wrong order. So at one point we have a church service again. I'm pretty numb to the world at this stage. Like Francis is kind of given up, but he's also, because of the offer that they got from the Drifter. Like in the morning, I was like, I might be going away soon. And like,
that means that everything that you go into is like meaningless, right? It doesn't matter what happens in Revachol because you're going away.
So I went to the priest and I said to them, like, I've got this opportunity and I want to talk to you about it because I don't know what it really means. And the priest was like, well, what is it? And I was like, I've got an opportunity to go into the Pale. And the priest was like, wasn't judgmental, wasn't angry, and was just like, Francis, like, that would be the end of you. And I would hate to see you do that because I think you've been doing so well. I'm really proud of you and doing all this stuff. But
the Pale, contextually, for anybody who missed it in the last episode, is like our equivalent of like an ocean or something, like on the
ocean.
But
I end up talking to, because you have these people that like they're travellers who cross it regularly. And one of them was an immigrant who travelled it a lot, and they said, well, you should go and talk to some of those people because they'll know more about it than me. So I went and tracked them down, and I spoke to them, and I said, like, hi, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. And obviously I'm no eye contact and all this stuff, you know, still Francising it up really hard. And I said to them, like, what can you tell me about the Pale? And they started talking about how it's like made up of memories, and how it's like a sea of like memories mixed together and consciousness all mixed together. And I said, like, what happens if you, and they went, oh, you go crazy if you stare at it for too long. I was just like, what happens if you just surrender to it? And they were like, you basically end up, you as yourself ends up kind of dissolving into this mass of memory and consciousness. And the way I kind of pictured it in my head was like, if you think of like swirling paint, and like Francis being a drop of paint dropping into that,
like the little ink drops.
And when you're watching it, you're like, that's where he is. And as it all moves and shifts, like he disperses and becomes part of it. And I was like, this sounds like, to Francis, this might sound horrifying to some other people, but for Francis to give up who he is and to be part of
the memories,
everything else, is so appealing.
I think it would be liberating as well, because you'd be free of like your leg pain, of just the pain of your existence. Like, oh my god, all of that. I wouldn't hurt anyone anymore because I wasn't there anymore. I can finally be free. I might be able to hear my wife's voice again. Oh my god. So I'm talking to people like, you know, I'm talking to the fucking
family.
Drifter.
They're amazing. I won't have a bad word said against them. But we end up. So I'm planning on going away, basically, and I'll skip past some stuff. But basically, we managed to find. I come up with this idea on the Saturday. Yeah. Sorry, it's not the Saturday. It's the party. I keep thinking it's.
So it's the intermission, the last thing on the Friday night.
I'm like, I go to Tony. And I'm like, we should do a black box with Marie.
Oh God! Oh my God! Did you?
Yeah. So
can we talk about it?
Yeah, we can, because it's not planned. So it's completely player led. Yeah. So we had the drunkard and I think it was a social worker. I'm sorry if I forget. Might be a street mart. I'm so sorry. It's a lot of this is. I'm tired. I'm talking about it, but a lot happened. But so I end up going to Marie, the lady that plays Marie, and I was just like, hey, would you like to do a black box? And they were like, yeah, sure. And I was just like, it's going to be pretty heavy. And I was like, they were like, yeah, it's good. So we went in there and like, we all got ready, and then we got Marie, and then we all went into the room, and Marie sat in the chair. Yeah. And basically we had basically Tony was saying that she should stay. Yeah. And Francis was saying that you need to leave, and basically saying like, listen, we've both been loving you selfishly. You need to kind of get away and be your own person and forget about all of this and just live your life type thing. And then we bought a bottle of booze in. So then halfway through, I just start drinking.
Oh my God.
And like, it's really bad. And like, bear in mind, like the drunkard's there, and like, he's barely saying anything in the scene. Yeah. He's more like just this...
He's the ethereal presence.
Crow figure in the corner, right? And it's like, it's basically just all of us. And the lady who plays Marie is like, gosh, she's got some balls, man. Like she was like angry at us and all this stuff. And it was like, it was really heavy. It was like because it was coming to the end of the event as well, it was really nice to kind of go through and just kind of have it all laid out with all the characters involved and talking it through. And like, there were some revelations involved, which I won't go into, but they kind of changed a bit of the dynamic. But at the end, it really was just like, you know, even after all of that, like Francis still loves her so much. And like, it doesn't matter, like if Marie like did something or has regrets about something, it's just like, she's still his daughter and he loves her, whatever. And it was really, really sweet. But it didn't end in the hooray, family reunion, blah 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 blah. Yeah. It ended with the like, Marie didn't have to make a choice, but she basically dressed us both down. Yeah. And it was like, fuck yeah, Marie. Yes. Damn straight. Like both your fathers are actually quite selfish and shit. Yeah. Like and you are gonna like kind of, you're gonna go your own path now, right? Like, and it was like, and you can put a lot of that stuff to bed, you know.
God, that must have been so cool to be part of.
Fucking really great. Really great. It was a bit of a rush because there was other stuff happening. But, so, oh God, I've missed out so many. Like, I haven't talked about how one of the friends of Rain, who's one of the sewer people, is actually really good at chemistry. They ended up making me up some painkillers and did it for free so I could keep working. Yeah. Like shit like this. There's so many of these little interactions that were like really, really beautiful. Nice. Like really nice.
And it also, I love stories like that. Like somebody who is a sewer person. So I'm guessing like the lowest of the low,
absolute
right?
scum. Yeah, it depends on they're either lower than the immigrants or slightly above the immigrants, depending on who you're talking to. Because a lot of people, there was a lot of kind of like keep out or Revachol type thing. Yeah, and then like having them do this incredibly intelligent thing where they are creating this chemical compound that can relieve your pain. Yeah, and they're just like. And they could do with the money, and you would have had the money to pay them. It was so sweet because I was like, I don't know how much money I have, but you can have like blah, blah, blah. And they were like, no, we don't want your money. I don't think I even had any money. Yeah. But like it was just super fucking sweet. And it was like I said to Rain as well, like, listen, I might be going away. Yeah. I just wanted to tell you how much I love you and how you don't have to like, what did I say to him? It was basically talking about Ember and being like, I'm sorry your father's this way. Yeah. He's got the same problem that I had. Yeah. And now I've passed it on to him. And I don't want you to go down the same path of hatred that we had. Yeah. And like, I hope you can forgive him, but learn to understand him. Yeah. But you don't need to, all this stuff, right? Really, really wholesome. Rudy's still smiling the whole time and just being lovely. Yeah. So then we get to the sports match and elections. So at this stage, by the way, meanwhile, all the time, there's this huge political thing where people are literally starting to gather sides. They're gathering weapons. It's leading to this big battle. Is this similar to the big, like, link to the big shootout that happened? Yeah, exactly. This is a set event, and everyone needs to pick a side at the end. Jesus. Okay. So this means that family members are going to be standing opposite each other, and like tensions really getting high between like basically, I think it was basically it's a difference between oh god, I haven't talked about the Unseen, who was like the war guy, like fucking crazy shit. Anyway, but there's like this big thing about how that some citizens want to shake off the yoke of the coalition, the coalition, but basically kind of have this fascist nationalization of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of dark. But on the other side, it's to keep under the yoke of them and kind of be controlled, but like less radical, right? Like, but still, it's still a shit option. Yeah. And people start gathering out loads of guns. Oh god, I didn't even talk about the fascist that I had a conversation with. Oh my god! Like so many things happened. It was amazing. But so sorry.
Had a lovely conversation with a fascist.
It was really funny because they were talking. They were really upset, and I was like, "Hey, did you want to talk about it?" So we went into their room and we sat down. We were talking, and I was like holding their hand. And I was talking about how.
Oh, and then did you realise?
Well, they're having problems with their family, and they just don't understand me. And I'm like, well, the older generation is like that. The world is changing, and we don't really get things. It was like, yeah, I started up this political organisation of fascism, and I'm trying really hard. And I was just like, oh my god, I'm actively encouraging it. Oh, believe in yourself. You can achieve anything if you want to.
How quickly did you backtrack?
No, I kept on it because, like, I'm trying to be nice to this person.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's that sort of event where you're like, oh my god, you're actually like a proper fucking. I just want to kill all the immigrants and send them away from here. God. Like that sort of stuff. And it was like, oh my god, ridiculous. Anyway, so. By the way, everything I'm about to say, the players checked in with me before it happened. Okay. What I'm about to describe. Okay.
Okay, so buckle your seatbelts.
We had the elections, and then
what are the elections for?
The elections are for the local city council.
Okay, so this would have followed on with the meetings that they had.
Yeah, also we voted on all this stuff as well. Okay. And they had a fucking amazing spread of food, by the way. Oh my god, they brought out like a picnic type thing, and there was like they had this sliced sausage, and
Whoa.
mustard.
Oh, whoa.
Oh my god! Yeah,
Hey,
I like legit
Okay.
though. I
I'm
want to know
salivating, excuse me.
Oh, it was like smoked sausage and
Oh,
like
God.
other like salami sausage,
Oh,
and I
talk
was
less.
and gherkins. I was just shoving this in my face. I
Mate.
was having the best time. Anyway,
If you want good LARP diet, I mean, it's bad LARP diet, but just good LARP. Oh, smoked sausage, gherkins, and pickles.
yeah, and it was like this big spread. There's a lot of cheese there. I wasn't
anyway,
interested
carry
in
on.
the cheese because I don't like cheese.
So elections.
Elections. So the elections get done. There's also the results for all the young people had to take an exam,
Okay.
and
Which I'm guessing because Francis is old, you didn't have to do?
I didn't have to do the exam, but
Okay.
like some kids passed, some kids didn't pass.
Uh-huh.
Really sad.
What were the exams for?
Like your high school diploma type
Oh,
thing.
shit. Okay,
But
yeah,
they
yeah.
were like at certain points there were definitely a revised version of history.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So there were some ideological problems with some things.
Yeah.
Joe didn't pass.
Joe, I was about to ask, did Joe do the exam? Oh, poor little DJ wannabe Joe.
But it's like the actual passing and failing, I think, is kind of pretty loosey-goosey. So basically, Tony didn't let him pass.
Oh, God.
And it was like really, really bad. Oh, yeah, I forgot to say, on the Saturday, Joe was like, someone's like, Tony came up to me and went, Joe's got a gun.
What?
And I was like, what? Joe's got a gun? And he was just like, yeah, blah, blah. And I spoke to Joe about it. Anyway, but like he managed to get hold of a gun. And I was just like, Joe, don't.
Joe, put the gun away.
Get rid of the gun
Get rid of the
immediately.
gun.
And he's like, no, I've got a plan for it. And it was just like, oh my God, this is
Oh,
this is how like kids
Joe.
die. But I think he ended up
Yeah.
pawning it, whatever. Joe's a good kid, right? Like,
I love Joe.
Joe's a good kid. Yeah, so we're at this, and then after this is all horrible. Oh, we also had the immigrants, whether they get to stay or not with a work permit.
Oh my God.
Again, like, holy shit, they would be like, this family gets a work permit.
Oh my God.
And it's done by family. So say if like one person in the family is like really violent, they might get kicked out. And this is all very arbitrary as well, by the way.
Yeah. And I guess if Francis, because Francis had married an immigrant, right? So if his wife was still alive.
But it would have been fine because she's married to me and I'm from Revachol, so she would have been fine.
Okay.
But like Ember had a problem with immigrants. He blamed it because it was an immigrant that ended up leading to the accident that killed his wife.
His wife.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So he hated them.
Oh God.
And it was like how complicated
That's
is.
very complicated. Like you hate the very thing that your mother.
Yeah, and I had to say like, please don't talk like that because you know like your mother and blah blah blah. But like he's so angry.
Oh my God.
We had an amazing moment, me and Ember, where we were sat in the church, and I'm hollow, and Ember comes up and sits next to me, and Ember's still trying to kind of like do stuff, but like this, Ember kind of had a moment of like clarity and sobriety where he realized how fucked he was.
Yeah.
And how things weren't going to be okay, and we sat there in basically silence, and it was.
Oh my God, that must have been so powerful.
It was really heavy.
Yeah.
We talked about like how we've failed.
Yeah.
Like I failed you,
Yeah.
and now you've failed your kids, and like we can't take that back. All we can do is hope that they learn from this and maybe try and break the cycle because this family's cursed.
Yeah, Jesus, that's a lot.
Yeah, and like I'm sorry, Ember, because you're like me.
Jesus, how was that for you? Because you obviously don't have any kids. Like,
no.
Like, how was that for you having a character that was not just a father but like a grandfather as well?
I have parents.
Yeah.
And they are flawed people, just like I am, just like everyone is. I always get told I give off big dad energy, which and I just kind of, I don't know, this is kind of heavy, but like I've always loved the idea of having kids.
Yeah.
And now I'm like 41, that's looking less and less likely, right?
Yeah.
So and I've never wanted to be like an old dad, for example, right? So like that's a thing. So a lot of this stuff was very personal to me on like the idea of like me putting my flaws onto my kids.
Yeah.
And like, it can be cruel, the idea of bringing kids into this terrible world that we live in, let alone Lacage, right? And history repeating itself, then picking up traits of you that maybe you don't like.
Yeah. And
then being a mirror for you and all of that stuff, and how you try your best, but you can't control them, and you have to. All this stuff is in my head. Like all this stuff is very personal to me,
it
and
like
so
heavy.
Yeah, it was, but like all of this is like really. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And it's done in a really safe environment. You guys had all those workshops even before time in.
We checked in a bunch of other players as well, like before the event, and we talked to each other. The speed dating was really good.
And so speed dating was where you would talk through your character.
With one of the other characters. Yeah. And when I ended up meeting Marie, it was like, when I came around the corner and she was there, she was like, oh God, I was so nervous. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm so glad. Like, this is the energy that I was hoping for the person that I would meet, because they were nervous about seeing me. And I think that was really healthy to be like, we're actually both emotionally nervous around each other because we know what each are to each other's character. It's really, really good. Fuck. Okay, you ready for the kind of...
I'm ready.
Okay, so... it comes to the sports day,
okay,
which is like the annual event type thing, where the two kind of local gangs or local groups kind of play a sports game together, but it usually ends in violence, and this is definitely going to end in violence. Like civil war is like literally just around the corner. Because
of course in a politically like volatile situation, the last thing you want to have is like a really fueled, aggressive, a really
physical fucking sports match.
Okay.
So just before they kick off,
what were they playing first of all for my little brain?
Football.
Nice.
But they never got around to playing football. I don't know whether they did, but an anarchist.
Okay.
An anarchist that had actually tried to give me money because they were kind of like a rich kid pretending to be, they believed in anarchism, so they wanted to live in the sewers with the poor people and understand it, but their parents still sent them money. So they came up to me like the day before and like, hey, Francis, like, hey, have some money. And I was just like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, like looking at the ground, like, oh, come on, it's you can just have it, like, for nothing. And I'm just like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's insulting, it's demeaning, and it's like...
and there's no such thing as free money.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. And Francis is like, no, like, that money would be a lot of money to him, but he just can't take it. Yeah. They stand up, and they start going about how there are traitors here. Okay? And then they point over at Francis, and they say... he's been going around. He goes into everyone's apartments. He's always listening to everything that's going on. He's been spreading... he's been an informant for the RCM. His daughter's in the RCM. And they create this narrative of Francis being a spy for the RCM. And it was just like for the coalition and a traitor to Revachol.
I mean... like, not gonna lie, that's solid evidence though, because your job is literally
really good.
Yeah.
Because there's enough there's enough truth in that.
Yeah.
That it could completely be true.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Yeah.
But like.
But there's no way that you could feasibly
and
convince
Francis
anyone.
Is like like I'm forward on, but that isn't true. Like, but I'm a tiny old man, and I'm not verbose like that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, bless the heart of the person that had to come and do this, but comes over with a metal bar and is like, they're like, are you ready? And I'm just like, yeah, do it. And I'm like, and they smash me in the chest with it, okay? And like Francis goes down and I'm shaking and it just erupts, okay? Like, because everyone's like, people don't know whether I love the lie because people don't know whether it's true or not. There's like. So people were second guessing stuff, but like attacking Francis is like...
yeah, because he's like the lovely old man.
Yeah, and people were fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Like even before when they started accusing me, people were trying to come around. I was just like, because they asked me, is it okay if we like attack you at the thing? And I was just like, absolutely. Like that's fucking... and they told me the reasoning. I was just like, this is fucking genius. And it's going to be really emotional to do that. So then... I go down, I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get my stick. And everyone's shouting and everything's going around. I go really inward, so I don't really know what's happening around me.
Yeah.
But then eventually, after everything's kicking off and they leave and blah, 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 they're trying to like, oh, we'll get him to the hospital. Get him to the hospital. And like other people have been hurt as well. And then I'm like going... Oh, get my stick, and they're like, "We got your stick, Francis, and my bag," and my bag is literally just full of trash.
Yeah,
but
because
it's
you've been gathering
super important. And also,
Oh.
hey, if you bring a bag of trash, you can now get paid for that. It's a new rule that they brought in, so I could bring. I was collecting trash all the time, so I literally a plastic bag full of trash. And Francis was really worried about it, so they end up carrying Francis like to the hospital.
I'm genuinely
and they put
tearing
me down,
up.
and like I'm shaking. I'm literally like, I'm breathing really heavy, and I'm like really upset. I'm crying, and the doctors are trying to help me, and like Rudy's there. I'm like crying, and I look up, and I in teary eyes I see like Rudy and Ember are there, and I'm like, get Rudy out! I don't want her to see me like this. Get Rudy out! And I'm like yelling and like all this stuff, and it's really, really heavy, and I'm like really upset. And then in all of this, Dr. Kim is there in the hospital, and Dr. Kim's like, "Is there anyone I can get? Is there anyone, what can I do for you?" And I said, "There's only one person I want to see. They wear a white jacket. I don't know their name." And they're like, "They sometimes come to the meetings," and it's like, yeah, I'm describing the drifter.
Oh my god!
And Dr. Kim's like,
no!
I know who you're talking about. And Kim rushes off to try and find this person. And poor Kim, I can only imagine. I think this person literally had to run around the entire building trying to find the drifter before Francis dies.
Oh my god! And the drifter had offered to take you to the Pale so you could be with your memories. Oh my god!
So I'm like shuddering. The doctors are trying to look after me. They're like, right, let's look at it. And they lift up my shirt and they're like, so what's happening? I'm just like, I'm an old man who's just been hit by a steel bar on my chest. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, oh god! They're like trying to do surgery. But there's no pain medication because somebody stole it all. Yeah. So they end up giving me acid.
Oh my god.
So they end up doing this surgery, and as they're doing the surgery, I pass out. Okay? And they're like, oh my god.
I'm actually crying.
Are you dead? And I'm like, no, I'm breathing really heavily. I've got a weak pulse, but I'm alive. And they're like, so they fix me up. And this doctor, one of the doctors, because I was like, okay, cool. All right, I just need to wait here till the fucking drifter shows up.
Yeah.
But this doctor comes over, and I had visitors come visit past it because it's like I want to give more game, and I was like worried like, oh, just me being passed out is not giving game.
No, you have to be awake, right?
Actually, so the doctor holds my hand and just starts talking to me.
Oh my god, because it gives them their one-on-one like monologue time, right?
And this person is like talking about me and like saying like, hey, I had this dream last night where you won a dance competition and it was amazing, and like talking about and they confessed a few things because obviously I'm unconscious and I can't hear anything, and I'm like moving my eyes as fast as I can in my eyeballs, like I'm tripping, like I'm unconscious listening but really high on acid to everything that people are saying around me. That was, I wish I could have reacted to it. Obviously I wanted to keep it where it was, but like, and I gave them like a tiny little squeeze of the hand, and it was like, I had the drunkard come visit me, and it was just like, how you doing, Francis? And I was just like, hello, mate. Like, I just wanted to thank you for always being there for me. And like, the relationship isn't the one of like someone who's actively encouraging Francis to drink and destroy himself. It's more like
he's got to live his
when
best
everyone else had
existence,
given up on him, the drunkard was always there to be a friend of Francis. You know, like, and it was just really, 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 really fucking cute. Anyway, so all of this goes by. Rudy and Ember, they come and say a few words. Obviously, all of this is just, oh god, I'm going to try and skip by because it's upsetting, but
it's just really deep, heavy shit where you would say to a parent that's like
leaving.
Yeah.
And I ended up falling asleep a couple of times. I had a couple of naps because it was nice.
Yeah.
I was knackered, and then
Does the drifter
I
turn
hear
up?
the voice.
Oh!
Francis.
Oi!
I open my eyes, and there's the drifter. And the drifter's like, what happened to this man?
Yeah.
Like to the doctor, who's literally just sat there with a clipboard or a book or something, minding their own business. And the drifter, for the first time in the entire event, raises their voice and is like, what? I asked you a question. What happened to this person? And the doctor's like, oh, I think they just got attacked, whatever, and blah, 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 blah. And then they come over and they come down and they hold my hand. And they're like, what do you want to do, Francis? I need to hear you say it. And I'm like, and we talk about it, and I'm like, I'm ready. Like, I'm tired.
Poor little Francis.
I'm so tired of being in pain. I'm so tired of hurting those around me. I just want to be away from me, and I want to be free, and I want to be with my wife again. And we held my hand, and she was like, I need you to say it. And I went, I want you to take me to the pail.
No.
So then she helps me up, and I just hold my crutch, and they just hold my hand, and we walk. And we walk down the stairs really slowly, and there's both sides, right? Like, everyone's gearing up for civil war, and I come walking along, and I sit down, and like Ember's there, and Ember's trying to talk to me, and I'm not saying anything to anyone at this stage. I'm just like a shell of a person. And the street martyrs there. Aww. And they are so sweet, and like they give off such tender, kind energy, and they just hold my hand. Aww. And say, it's going to be okay, Francis. Everything's gonna be just fine. We're gonna look after you,
mate.
We're just gonna look after you now. You don't need to don't worry about any of this that's happening.
Yeah,
it's happened before. You've seen all this before, and it will always happen. And you don't need to worry,
because he lived through the big fall from.
I've lived through a bunch of stuff like this. Like, I've seen communists and all sorts come up and then promise the world and then fail, over and over and over again. And then,
oh my god, that would just continue this, because like it was Francis' thing about there's no hope for the world, right? That was your little motivation.
Why did the last innocent not say anything? This is
Oh.
one of the things, was like, because maybe they realised that there is no helping us.
Yeah.
We're always doomed to repeat this same cycle
of
pain and misery and all this stuff.
No.
And it ended with me walking along with the drifter and the street martyr, holding hands with them. And as the two sides come together and are about to kill each other, and that's when the game ended.
Jesus. No, you're crying. Dave's literally just talked at me for the last 5 minutes while I've been like wiping tears away and trying not to snot noise. That's incredible.
It was so fucking perfect and beautiful, and I can't thank the players enough. I'm a big fan of narrative, as you know, and I think it was the absolute, like, we can talk about the ethics of it and what it really means. Like was Francis literally just tripping acid in the hospital in bed?
Oh my god, what if he's still there?
And all of that was just him dying in a acid dream. And that was what he can hear outside, and him filling in his own imagination with the gaps in the middle. Or did the drifter really take him to the like I think any of those are correct answers. Like, any of that's yes.
This is what I fucking love about these kind of like story heavy games, is the fact that it's open to player interpretation, right? Like, it ends, but it's like all down to you and what you want it to be. Even the kind of,
they were very, the game runners were very verbose. You have to pick a side, right? Like, and I kind of get that. I don't think it really fitted with the character of Francis. I know that the drifter really had to do work to basically get that to happen. And I think I can't thank them enough for going to bat for me and doing all that stuff. And the street martyr, I haven't talked enough about the street martyr, by the way, but they were a constant, like,
I really like the unseen.
That, like, honestly, they were the group of players I interacted with had so much. Just they were deep and frivolous and competitive. They reminded me of almost like the Greek gods, right? Like
that's what I was thinking. They're literally like the shit-stirring gods that come into the realms of mortal men.
Well, they have things that they like, they have things they don't like, they have people they want to support, they have people they want to control and be part of them. They also had like badges which they could give you. I was like collecting badges by the end because like a lot of them wanted a piece of Francis.
But it's so interesting as well because like for them, everybody's misery and pain and everything would have just been a game. Yeah. Jesus.
But that was the thing. When we were at the end, when we were talking, that was the kind of the vibe.
Yeah.
Was this, it's okay, Francis, like, you know, what's it called? The great life joke or whatever, this idea that like life is actually hilarious. We've just forgotten it's a joke in the punchline. Yeah. Right? Like, so life should be something that we should take almost like for what it is. Temporary, and when we die the only things that we'll remember are the deep emotional experiences that we had. So like your first breakup from your first partner, which is really heartbreaking, will be something that you cherish because you got to experience it, right? Like, and that was, I don't know, it really got me thinking about life and death, addiction, family, community, mortality just generally. And I think the players that I played with just did such an amazing job. I don't have the words to thank them for how that was, and I cried so much. And I said this after the event, and I think I'm going to say it now despite how arrogant this sounds. I think Francis is my masterpiece. I think it's possibly one of the greatest characters and character arcs and stories I think I've ever done. I'm so incredibly proud of it. I mean, we've only been talking about it for what, like 2 hours, 2.75 hours. Took the clock, something like that.
But it's like I would totally agree with that.
I went to places I didn't know were possible, and I did it in like a really healthy, nice way, and I got to wrestle with the demons that I had inside me. And like let me put it this way, I had they had really good workshops, by the way, afterwards, which were really handy, which were opt-in or opt-out. And I went to those because I think it's always a good idea to do them, and 2, I like to learn from what they do.
It's an amazing decompression tool.
They're really, really good. Basically, like, what was it? Hi, my name is your real name. I played this character, and how I'm feeling and what I need. Oh. Right? Yeah. And it was like really nice to hear people go through them, and obviously there's people with very similar stuff. I felt like a marshmallow, like emotional marshmallow. There was no rough edges to me at all. I was just a squishy...
I can see it because, like, oh, mate.
Everything, all of the negativity and all of the pain and all that stuff had just been, like, just cleansed from me. Like, which is a real problem when you're training for a boxing match.
So for the last 2 weeks, Dave's been like, all of my aggression's gone, man.
I don't want to fight anyone. I don't want to punch anyone. I don't want to be punched. I want us to be cool to each other. I want us to make the world a better place and make each other's lives better. Like, that's what I want. And it's just like it's really hard. Even talking about it now is going to make me. I've got to fight in like less than a week, and I'm already feeling squishy again. Like, it's not good. I need to go out there and. But
this is what I find, like, going to. I mean, this is a barely scraping the surface of everything that you would have gone through and all of this stuff, but. Going back to a previous episode that you did on bleed with, I can't remember their name, sorry, but the professor from the university that specialised in it. Like, this is what I love about the European LARPs, is the fact that for them, it is a safe place for you to do a deep dive into some very deep emotional territory and quite what's the word I'm trying to think for? But like social contrasts, right? Like you deal a lot with fascism, communism, like government control, church control, like social dynamics. It's all so fascinating.
It was so cathartic.
Yeah.
Like, I would say how I view my parents has changed now.
Yeah.
Like how I interact with them has changed. Even now, like how I view myself, how I view it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I could bang on about this for fucking hours.
Yeah.
Because I've been to a couple of games now. Bear in mind, like I recorded the Requiem episode, and they were understandably a little nervous about someone doing a podcast on that. And I had a couple of people from the crew, basically, when I went to Legion, basically say like, "Hey, you did like, I think you did a really good job in describing your experience. I think what you did was really fair in how you described it." I was always worried about that because, like, I come into this game as a punter, like I'm paying for a ticket, I go along, but the amount of time and effort that the game runners must have gone to make this thing happen, and the team that has to work together, and that unity of trust and understanding and all pulling together, because these games they're expensive but they don't make money. Okay, they're all the money goes into the games. And I just think it's I think Rolling are making some of the most impressive and like,
because how many of their games have you gone to now?
3.
So that it was this one,
Requiem, which was a really hardcore post World War II one that I completely lost my mind at. Legion, which is
the hike in
the hike in the, like, that's also pretty heavy, but this one I felt was the perfect balance between Legion and Requiem, because it had so many emotional notes and feelings while having, well, it's Disco Elysium, so there was fun there, and
the intermission sounded like it was insane.
It was so much fun. But it was colourful and tragic and joyful, and like it just, everything was like right on. Like they're going to be running it again. I don't think I gave any of that. They said like these are spoilers. I don't think I gave away anything that is actually spoilers. Maybe it is.
Cross-reference.
I would say like I played Francis the way I played Francis, and I'm sure people might play it in a similar way. But like I think there's lots of ways. Like I could go back and play Francis in a different way. But if I went back, I'd be really interested to play one of the Unseen. I would be really interested in playing a whole bunch of different characters and just viewing the whole thing from a different perspective.
I really want to go and play a character.
I cannot recommend it enough, basically. My phone wasn't on silent.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That's amateur hour there, David
podcaster. Terrible. But yeah, I think like, and bear in mind, I have, as we always do, run roughshod over the event. Like I've missed off so many actual things that happened that I'm sure people are listening to this who went to the event and being like, ugh, yeah, they didn't mention this or it didn't happen that. But I hope that if you are listening to this and you're interested in going to these more Nordic style LARPs, that this kind of like inspires you to try and make that plunge into doing something like this.
I think a lot of people get really, firstly it's in a different country, so that's a nerve-wracking element of it. There's a price cost to it as well. But I really want to try it. Maybe not the 20-kilometer hike in the mountains, but
I think it's like I think Legion isn't running this year or next year, I'm not sure. But like if they run 97 Poets again, like this has the absolute Dave stamp of excellence. Really, really good. Like there's stuff I could be critical about, like some of the workshopping stuff and some other things that I could go into, but I don't want to. I honestly, I want it to stay where it is in my mind, which is this absolutely beautiful experience with wonderful people. I got to meet new players. I got to see players that I've played with in previous games and become friends with.
And I'm sure you would have seen them in a different light entirely, like doing things that they wouldn't have normally done, right?
I think the first one is the hard one. For me anyway, it was hard because I didn't know anyone. But when you, like, even Legion, I went with David and there were people I knew, and then there was like this one, there were international LARPers that I knew, there were people from the iLARP lot, a few of those guys went, and it was like, I don't know,
It just makes you feel very safe, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just wish I had more money. Like, literally, I'm so broke right now. And I've got another LARP in Florence, which I've already paid for, which is good. But that's, like, the week after I fight. So it goes straight into it. So there might be another Dave episode. So leave in the comments if you want more of Dave's heartbreak.
It's amazing that I really, like, thank you so much for sitting down and just chatting at me with this. Like, I have cried... But it's so beautiful. Making
Millie cry is something I take a lot of pride in.
Wait, no, we gotta bottle up these tears. We're saving LARPer content creator bodily fluids for our 24-hour stream that we're doing.
Only noobs.
No, it's for the charity stream.
You're doing a charity stream?
Boy, we are.
Really? When's that?
30th of November, that weekend.
Can I go on it?
Yeah, it's 24-hour stream. It's very not for every, like, you won't have to do it for 24 hours. It's very loosey goosey in Millie's brain right now, but we're doing it for Young Lives versus Cancer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
And we've got some raffle prizes coming in.
I saw you doing the thing about the raffle prizes.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Yeah. If you're if you're a LARP creator or you make stuff or anything like that, like, more prizes the better. Yeah. I'm fighting for Young Lives versus Cancer very, very soon. It's a great charity. Obviously quite dear to our hearts. I think that's amazing. I'm so happy about that. That makes me fucking ecstatic that that's going to be a thing.
I'm gonna put posts out. Well, so this week is it's 13th of October. We're in October now, right?
Yeah.
13th of October at time recording. So this week there'll be a post up. Hopefully, I'm going to start scheduling stuff. And then it will happen next month.
I think this really does show how blinkered I've been by, one, the boxing, and then going off and doing this LARP. I've been blinkered to everything in my life.
It's also because I haven't told anybody about this.
Oh, you haven't? This is the big reveal. God,
I mean, not
hilarious.
really big reveal, but yeah.
That's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, once again, thank you for you to listen, and thank you to our patrons.
Hell yeah. Look at you getting back in the saddle.
I miss it.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Like, I've really enjoyed my break, and I'm really happy with what you're doing with it. And it's really nice I get to come back and moonlight
I
again.
love our episodes together.
I like talking to you anyway.
Yeah, right?
Like,
it's nice.
Me and Millie genuinely spend a lot of time talking to each other. So this is just a nice way to do it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah. If you want any more information, I'll post the link to the 97 Poets website if you want to read up on that. I won't lie, it's a little bit confusing, but just bear with. It's very interesting. We'll also post a couple of funny photos and memes. I'm sure I can create one.
There will be...
It's David Wimpenny. There's going to be a meme or two.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm not quite Ian, okay? Ian literally is more meme than man at this stage. So, but like, I think like there'll be pictures coming out, which I can't wait to see. I'm kind of nervous about seeing the pictures, but like,
I want to see the pictures.
Yeah, I think we'll find a couple of select ones, maybe put them on the Facebook group. But yeah, fuck. Yeah. I hope that was good for you.
Yeah. I'm not answering that question.
I wasn't even asking you. I was asking our dear listeners. Wow.
I feel it's incredible. I don't even know how to end the podcast. So we're just going to... How about now? It didn't work.